everyone, welcome back to Season 3 of Actual English. I'm Jennifer Clyde. I do want to begin by thanking all of our viewers for your support and for your love. We are able to continue on with Lesson 261. All right, then, let's imagine that we are beginning a brand new season. Now, why don't we begin with introductions? Self-introductions. So, the topic for lesson 261 is self-introduction. We'll have several self-introductions with different people, so you'll have a chance to learn about what you can say when you meet someone for the first time, okay? So, first of all, when you introduce yourself to someone you just met, of course, you would say hello, talk about your name, perhaps age, even talk about where you are from. You can also talk about friends, family, the work you do. So there's tons of things you can talk about. Let's find out what these two talk about in today's actual talk conversation. All right, if you're ready, let's begin.
So how long have you been in Korea?
Well, I came to Korea about 10 years ago, so quite a while now.
Yeah, that's quite some time.
Right.
I've been here for almost 5 years. Next month it'll be 5 years.
Wow,
so.
are you enjoying it here?
I love it.
Yeah,
I
me
love
too.
it. Yeah, where are you from originally?
I come from Wales,
Okay.
which is one of the 4 nations in the United Kingdom.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are there any big cities in Wales? What's the...
There are 2 main cities in South Wales, and my hometown is kind of halfway between those 2 cities. It's
Okay.
a town called Pencoed.
Okay.
And yeah, I spent most of my childhood in that small town.
So how was it coming to Seoul?
It was a big change.
Yeah.
Huge transition from that small town to the bright lights of Seoul. I came straight to Seoul, and it's been fun.
Yeah, I come from Michigan, and
Right.
I come from kind of a suburb, and there's not that many great booming cities in Michigan.
Right.
The economy is pretty sad right now.
Yeah,
so
with the car industry. Kind of,
yeah, Detroit, right?
Right.
So I am not used to I wasn't really used to the big city, but now that
Right.
I've lived in it, I kind of get nervous when I go to
Right.
the country. When I go back home,
right.
I'm like, oh, well, we don't have any taxis. How are we going to get somewhere? And
That's kind of like a reverse culture shock.
yeah.
That happened to me the first time I went back home, and it was very strange, really strange.
Yeah. So was Korea your first time traveling outside of your home?
No, I actually went to Spain before
Okay.
I came here. I studied TESOL
Okay.
in Spain,
Right.
looking for a job teaching English
Okay.
in Europe. But the competition is very high in Europe, and the salaries are pretty low.
And the cost of living is a bit higher, yeah?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Compared to Korea, definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Korea's the place to be, I guess.
It is. I'm loving it here. It's good. It's all good.
Welcome back, everyone. Did you listen carefully to the conversation? Now, this season we are beginning with some new faces. Today we had Mary and Alan helping us out. They will be continuing to help us out with actual talk conversation. So what did these two talk about? They didn't exactly mention how old they were, what their names were. Let's omit that part, okay? They talked more about where they are from. They talked about their family, their likes and dislikes even. So let's get straight into it. Here we go. First of all, Mary says, so how long have you been in Korea? How long have you been in a certain country? Meaning, how long have you lived in Korea? Well, Alan said, well, I came to Korea about 10 years ago. So it's been 10 years since he has moved to Korea. So quite a while now. If you say quite something, you're saying that it's been a long time. Quite a long time, meaning pretty long time. Quite a bit, meaning fairly a lot, okay? So he's saying, yeah, it's been 10 years. It's been quite a while now. Yeah, that's quite some time, Mary says. I've been here for almost 5 years. See, the pattern is I have been here for how long? For almost 5 years. So Mary has been in Korea for nearly almost 5 years. And she says, next month, it'll be 5 years. Aha. So, first of all, she says almost, nearly 5 years, but next month, In the coming month, it'll be 5 years. So I guess the time that Alan's been in Korea doubles the time that Mary has been in Korea, right? 10 years and 5 years. So here we go. Alan asks, wow, so are you enjoying it here? Are you liking it here in Korea? I love it, she says. I love it. Yes, me too. And Mary says, where are you from originally? Now, this word is not such a difficult word. It means by origin, okay? You would say, I'm originally from, and then your native country, the country you were born in or the town that you come from. Originally, we'll practice the pronunciation of this word later on, okay? So originally, I come from, or she asks, where are you from originally? And Alan says, I come from Wales, which is one of the 4 nations in the United Kingdom, in the UK. So Mary says, okay, are there any big cities in Wales? Are there any huge or big cities in Wales? He says there are 2 main cities. 2 main cities, probably meaning 2 big cities in South Wales. And he says, my hometown is kind of halfway between those 2 cities. So if you say halfway, this is one of our patterns for today. Halfway basically means somewhere in between. This also means partially, almost. But if you're saying halfway between certain areas, you're saying it is somewhere in the middle, okay? So he comes from a place that is somewhere in the middle, somewhere in between these 2 main cities. It's a town called Pankot. I spent most of my childhood in that small town. Childhood is what? Your adolescence, the years in which you grew up to be an adult. So he's saying that he spent most of his childhood, most of his early stages or early ages in that small town. So Mary says, so how was it coming to Seoul? In other words, what was it like coming to Seoul? And he says, it was a huge transition. Here we go. Transition. Although we have transition, it's more of a z sound, so it's transition. A transition is like a change, okay? Change from one position or an area or subject. It's a change that you go through. So he's saying it was a huge change. It was a huge transition from that small town to what? The bright lights of Seoul. I came straight to Seoul, and it's been fun. That's our pattern for today as well. If you say straight to something, you are saying directly to. So he could have also said, I came directly to Seoul, and it's been fun. I came straight to Seoul, and it's been fun. Meaning that he came from his hometown, here's the small town in Wales, straight to Korea, straight to Seoul, meaning he did not make any other stops elsewhere. Moving on. Mary says, yeah, I come from Michigan. Now she's talking about where she is from originally. So Mary is from Michigan, and I come from kind of a suburb. What is a suburb? A suburb is a district lying immediately outside of a town or a city. Right outside a city would be the suburbs. An S is added as well. So she says, I come from kind of a suburb, and there are not that many great booming cities in Michigan. Booming, what does that mean? Imagine the sound, boom, okay, boom. When something explodes, it goes boom. It makes a big sound, right? So if you say that something is booming, you're saying that it's becoming popular. It's flourishing, okay? It's expanding. So she's saying that she comes from a kind of a suburb, a place or an area or town just outside a city, and there are not that many great booming cities in Michigan. So she's saying that there are not many huge or expanding cities in Michigan. Okay, moving on. The economy is pretty sad right now. What's interesting is that she said sad with economy. We often say that the economy is bad, okay? Economy is bad, meaning it's not doing so well. But interestingly, she said the economy is pretty sad. You could use the word sad, meaning that it's not doing very well, okay? So I wasn't really used to the big city, but now that I've lived in it, we're talking about Seoul, right? She says, I kind of get nervous when I go to the country. Get nervous. So she feels nervous when she goes to the country. The country here, we're not talking about country as in nation. We're talking about the countryside. There is the city and there is the countryside where people farm usually. So she's saying, since she has lived in Seoul, a big city, a very busy city, whenever she goes to the country or the countryside, she feels a bit nervous. She gets nervous. And then she says, when I go back home, home meaning Michigan, I'm like, oh, we don't have any taxis. How are we going to get somewhere? See, this is exactly what she means by getting nervous or feeling nervous. When she goes back home to Michigan, to that small town, she feels that there aren't many taxis. So she gets nervous. What am I going to do? There aren't any taxis here. How am I going to get there? How am I going to get around? So she's saying she worries when she goes back to her hometown. Moving on. Now, Alan says it's kind of like a reverse culture shock. Now, we've got culture shock and also reverse. Reverse means what? The other way, contrary, opposite, the other way around, reverse. You all are familiar with culture shock, right? What is a culture shock? A culture shock is especially the emotions you feel. Also, it's very psychological as well. When you move abroad, especially to study, you move to a whole new country, a whole new environment, and you need time to adjust to that place. And you often say that you have culture shock or experience culture shock. But Alan is saying it's kind of like a reverse culture shock, which means what? It's like when you go abroad to study and you return back home, you go back to your home country, and once again, you have to readjust, okay? So that is what we call a reverse culture shock. When you go to another country or a different place and you come back home to your home country and you feel that everything is different, you need to readjust. That is what we call a reverse culture shock, okay? And then moving on, he says, that happened to me the first time I went back home. Okay, the first time he returned home from Korea, perhaps. And he says it was very strange. Very strange. He repeats it. Okay. Now, one thing I do want to tell you, just as Alan did here, he's repeated very strange. He says it was very strange. Very strange. He is just stressing the fact that it was very strange. So if you want to stress something, repeat it. Okay. It was very good, very good. It was really difficult, okay? And for him, it was very strange, very strange. Got it? Moving on, so Mary says, so, was Korea your first time traveling outside of your home? Thus, was Korea your first country or nation that you came to, other than your home country? He says, no, I actually went to Spain. Before I came here, I studied TESOL in Spain. Why? Looking for a job, teaching English in Europe. But, he says, the competition is very high in Europe and the salaries are pretty low. Competition here is what? We often compete against other people or other groups of people. We have teams competing against each other. We have soccer teams, for example, that compete against each other as well. the Korean national soccer team competed against other countries, right? But here, he's saying the competition is very high, okay? Is very high. If you say that competition is very high, you are saying that it is very, very difficult. There are many people competing for the same desire, for the same thing. So, I guess you can say competition could also mean rivalry, okay? So, the competition is very high in Europe and the salaries are very or pretty low. I see. And the cost of living is a bit higher, yeah, she says. So the cost of living in, where? In Spain is a bit higher compared to Korea, right? He says, right, compared to Korea, definitely. Absolutely, it is a lot more expensive. It's a lot higher. Well, Korea is the place to be, I guess. It is the place to be. What does that mean? It's the place to be, meaning it's the perfect place, okay? It's the place to go, meaning it's the perfect place to go. Here, it's the place to be, meaning it is the perfect place to be living in other words. So he says, it is. I'm loving it here. It's good. It's all good. All right. So if you say that you're loving something, you're saying that you're really enjoying something. You're enjoying your time and having a wonderful time. So for Alan, he's saying that he loves living in Korea and everything is perfect. It's good. It's all good. Okay, everyone, let's take a listen to the actual talk conversation one more time.
So how long have you been in Korea?
Well, I came to Korea about 10 years ago, so quite a while now.
Yeah, that's quite some time.
Right.
I've been here for almost 5 years. Next month it'll be 5 years.
Wow,
So
are you enjoying it here?
I love it.
Yeah,
I
me
love
too.
it. Yeah, where are you
good.
from originally?
I come from Wales,
Okay.
which is one of the 4 nations in the United Kingdom.
Okay. So are there any big cities in Wales? What's the...
There are 2 main cities in South Wales, and my hometown is kind of halfway between those 2 cities. It's
Okay.
a town called Pencoed.
Okay.
And yeah, I spent most of my childhood in that small town.
So how was it coming to Seoul?
It was a big change.
Yeah.
Huge transition from that small town to the bright lights of Seoul. You know, I came straight to Seoul, and yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, I come from Michigan, and
Right.
I come from kind of a suburb, and there's not that many great booming cities in Michigan.
Right.
The economy is pretty sad right now.
Yeah,
so
with the car industry. Kind of,
yeah, Detroit, right?
Right.
So I am not used to I wasn't really used to the big city, but now that
Right.
I've lived in it, I kind of get nervous when I go to
Right.
the country. When I go back home,
right.
I'm like, oh, well, we don't have any taxis. How are we going to get somewhere? And
That's kind of like a reverse culture shock.
yeah.
That happened to me the first time I went back home, and it was very strange, really strange.
Yeah. So was Korea your first time traveling outside of your home?
No, I actually went to Spain before
Okay.
I came here. I studied TESOL
Okay.
in Spain,
Right.
looking for a job teaching English
Okay.
in Europe. But the competition is very high in Europe, and the salaries are pretty low.
And the cost of living is a bit higher, yeah?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Compared to Korea, definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Korea's the place to be, I guess.
It is. I'm loving it here. It's good. It's all good.
It's now time for actual expressions, everyone. For those of you that are joining us for the very first time, what we do is go over some of the vocab words from the actual talk conversation, and we'll also practice the patterns that we found with stars in front of them. So we'll go over those patterns as well. So first of all, here we have originally. Now, originally means by origin. Some synonyms are initially, basically, formally. This would probably have the closest definition, okay? Originally. Stress goes right there on the second syllable. 2 more times. Originally. Originally. Good job. And what about childhood? Childhood is basically a time or period in which you were a child. So you can say school days or even adolescent. Transition is a change, okay? It's a change from one position, for example. So it's a change or evolution. Transition, as I told you, it's more of a Z sound. Transition. Moving on to suburb. Stress goes on the first syllable. Suburb, suburb, also called suburbia. Suburbia, countryside, or even village. We're talking about an area that lies immediately outside of a city. Just outside the city is perhaps the suburbs. What about reverse? Reverse is opposite, as I mentioned, the other way around. And competition. Let's take a look at some synonyms. Race, tournament, match, or even rivalry. Okay, you can say that competition is pretty tough at times. Moving on to our first pattern, halfway. Okay, in today's actual talk conversation, there was something about halfway between the two cities, right? So we're talking about midway, somewhere just in between. Now, halfway could also mean partially or almost. Here is a sample sentence. My parents halfway agreed. So I'm going to have to wait for a definite answer. Okay, so if you say that somebody halfway agreed, you're saying that he or she agreed 50%, not all the way. So you have to wait for an absolute or a definite answer. Okay, straight to means directly to. So sometimes I go straight to the Han River after work. One more time. Sometimes I go straight to the Han River after work, which means right after you get off work, you don't go anywhere else, you don't make any stops, you go directly to the Han River. Sometimes I go straight to the Han River after work. And one more, booming means what? Flourishing, expanding. Okay, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So, I did not know Seoul was a booming city until I came to visit friends here. I did not know Seoul was a booming city until I came to visit here or visit friends here. We're talking about how something is on the up and up and up. It's advancing. Quickly, one more. Culture shock, we all know. We're talking about those emotions, emotional and psychological stage of readjusting. Moving to a big city like New York was a big culture shock, especially the food. So you're saying it was very difficult to adjust to many things, the environment, the atmosphere, but mostly the food, okay? So please do make use of these expressions and the vocab words. Job well done.
Hello, my name is Whitney. Very nice to meet you. I'm from the United States. I don't want to tell you my age, but I'm in my 20s. I come from the state of Illinois, and in Illinois, it's very cold. There's a lot of corn and a lot of cows. It's a very easy lifestyle. I came to Korea about 3 years ago, and I first learned about Korea from my college friends. They were Korean. And they taught me about Korean food, Korean fashion, culture, Korean dramas, and K-pop. So I wanted to experience Korea for myself. So when I first came to Korea, I was so interested in the food. It was so delicious, and there's so many things to do, musicals and museums, and I just had so much fun in Korea. Although I thought it was going to be like a K-drama, it was much better. So I'm having so much fun in Korea, and although I know someday I'll have to go back to the US, for now, I'm just enjoying my adventure here in Korea.
With today's actual story, Whitney has helped us out. With this segment, we'll have each and every individual, we'll have different people joining us each and every day, and they'll be telling us their own story, their response to the lesson's topic. So Whitney was talking about her self-introduction. Let's see what she has to say about herself. She says, it's a very easy lifestyle. We're talking about living in Korea, perhaps, okay? It's an easy lifestyle. It's laid back, easygoing lifestyle. I thought it was going to be like a K-drama, meaning Korean drama. It was much better. So she's talking about before she moved to Korea, the idea that she had. She thought it was going to be very much like K-dramas or Korean dramas, but it was much better. So she's happy. It was a very good surprise. She says, I know someday in the future, I'll have to go back to the US. Return to the US, which happens to be her home country. And she says, I'm just enjoying my adventure here in Korea. She's enjoying her time. She's enjoying her adventure here in Korea. The reason why she said that, it is an adventure. Not just her stay, but an adventure, is because she's really enjoying the new things, the excitement that she finds in Korea. So you could say, I'm enjoying my stay in Korea, or also I'm enjoying my adventure here in Korea. Okay, thanks to Whitney once again. Let's take a listen to it one more time.
Hello, my name is Whitney. Very nice to meet you. I'm from the United States. I don't want to tell you my age, but I'm in my 20s. I come from the state of Illinois, and in Illinois, it's very cold. There's a lot of corn and a lot of cows. It's a very easy lifestyle. I came to Korea about 3 years ago, and I first learned about Korea from my college friends. They were Korean, and they taught me about Korean food, Korean fashion, culture, Korean dramas, and K-pop. So I wanted to experience Korea for myself. So when I first came to Korea, I was so interested in the food. It was so delicious, and there's so many things to do, musicals and museums, and I just had so much fun in Korea. Although I thought it was going to be like a K-drama, it was much better. So I'm having so much fun in Korea, and although I know someday I'll have to go back to the US, for now, I'm just enjoying my adventure here in Korea.
Okay, everyone, how did you enjoy today's lesson? We were talking about a very broad topic, for example, self-introductions. Not just about the nitty-gritty, talking about where you are from exactly, what your age is, whether you have sisters and brothers. But today we focused more on how it feels like living in a foreign country, living abroad. For foreigners, for example, they're expats. They've lived in Korea for a long time. So today's lesson has given us a chance to find out about, what living abroad, especially what living in Seoul is like, to Whitney, Alan, and of course, Mary. We'll be seeing some more new faces, everyone, so please look forward to that. And please do keep in mind the expressions, the metaphors, and the idioms that we studied today. Oh, and also the vocab words. Practice them more on your own. You can make use of those patterns, okay, and those vocab words in other situations when talking about different topics as well. So please do go over them as many times as possible to make them yours. No pressure. Okay, the idea is to have fun with each and every one of our lessons, right? Okay, so that is all for today's lesson, but we will be continuing on with the same topic, self-introduction, in our next lesson, so please do join me for that as well. Okay, what you can do in the meantime is come to our homepage, come on over to www.ebse.co.kr, look for Actual English with Jennifer, and if you have any thoughts you want to share, also if you have any topics you would like to request, feel more than free to let us know, okay? Let them be posted on our message board ASAP. Okay, that is a wrap. I'll have to catch you again next time. Until then, take care and bye for now.